to be an angel, and I've openly admitted to everything that I've ever done.
People don't want to know the truth and the honesty of it. If they want to be convinced or brainwashed into what they believe, then fine, then go ahead and kill me. But vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, because you will have executed somebody that didn't commit the crime. When they paint the image that I was this monster who picked up like these altar boys along the street and swatted them like flies, I said, this is ludicrous. I've taken 3.5 hours of truth serum. And under sodium amytal, the maximum amount that I could have, it shows that I have no knowledge of the crime whatsoever. Never have had.
But this is where his attempt to change history, which is what he thinks will get him a new trial, begins to break down. There is no proof anywhere that he ever took truth serum. Now, it's not only a matter of physical evidence, it's a character issue as well. Many times during our interview, he tried to portray himself as a good guy, an ethical, hard-working family man. Here's how he describes himself as a father.
Loving and caring. I've always looked after my children, even now.
What kind of values do you remember imparting to them?
The kind of values?
Were you strict with them too?
No, not as strict as, no. A lot of things that my dad did, I refused to do, because I don't believe in hitting children. I don't believe in spoiling a child either. My values are such that if you give enough love to the
You're
children...
accused of murdering 33 kids, and you say you didn't believe in hitting. I mean...
Well, anybody that knows... You see, first of all, you're basing this garbage on what you've heard me.
And what the jury said, and what the courts of appeal have said. And the prosecutor who put him in jail says Gacy is a ruthless and sadistic killing machine.
He's responsible. He knew exactly what he was doing. He planned it in advance. He carried it out, and he enjoyed it.
And he admitted it. In fact, boasted of it to the police. But now, 14 years later, he's denying it and talking to me about it. What does Prosecutor Kunkel think of that?
He's a desperate man. He's going to die in 2 or 3 years. He's going to be executed when the law is finally carried out. And he'll clutch at any straw.
2.5 hours of clutching at straws, cunning and manipulative denials. But if you listen carefully, you catch him slipping up. About John Bukovic, for instance, his second victim.
What happened to, what happened in the Bukovic case? Where was he picked up, and how did he get to the house, and what happened with him?
I don't want to go into the other, the 5 that I know about. Just take it that I didn't. Bukovic is not one that I killed, so I don't know nothing about him. The little bit that I know about him is that he was an employee of mine. See, when you look about this recall business, and
I'm not a prosecutor, John, but you just
I know
said
you're not.
Bukovic
Wait a minute.
is not one that you killed, which suggests that maybe in fact there were others that you did kill. No, no.
Okay, I'm sorry if I led you to believe. No, strike it then. That is wrong.
But it's too late to strike it. There are others he killed, children he lured into his home anyway who didn't get out alive. When he was arrested, he told the police what he did and how he did it, with a rope that he used as a tourniquet. Now he says he didn't do it and shows me his rope trick to explain how the police misunderstood. That and more of what he's twisting into his pleas of innocence tomorrow.
Throughout the years on death row, Gacy claimed that he was not worried. He had no reason to fear the day he would die.
If you believe you've lived your life the right way, then you do not have nothing to fear, in my case.
You're not worried about facing God?
No. I'm fairly comfortable with him. I've been at the Catholic services, I'm the server for the priest for the last 10 years. I have no qualms about doing that. I've had confession, I have communion, and I am at peace with myself.
On the morning of his execution, Gacy was flown from his downstate prison to the death chamber at Stateville Correctional Center.
We have attorneys on standby that will be available to the very end to fight any attempts to stay this execution.
By 7 that evening, the U.S. Supreme Court denied a last request for a stay of execution.
At the end, Gacy wanted to speak with each of the lawyers separately. He took me aside and he wanted to thank me for trying as hard as I could and for keeping him occupied with jokes and for being kind to him and calling him and keeping him informed.
Even while the crowds cheered outside his cell, Gacy did not believe he was going to die.
At about 11:15 on the night that Gacy was killed, one of us called up Gacy and said, "How are you doing?" And Gacy said, "You know what? Can this wait? Can I talk to you in a while?" We said, "No, John, it can't wait. I mean, what do you mean a while?" He said, "Call back in an hour or two." I said, "John, you're going to be dead in an hour or two. What do you think about it?"
Tonight say the justices could have kept Gacy alive, brushed their motions aside without reading them. During a Chicago news conference late this afternoon, Gacy's lawyers say that the 7th U.S. Court of Appeals addressed a point not included in their argument, proving that the justices couldn't have read it. The notorious serial killer was executed early today at Stateville Prison in Joliet. Channel 3's John Paul was there when Gacy died.
As the sun set on Stateville Prison, serial killer John Gacy's appeals to put off his date with death faded too.
John Wayne Gacy was pronounced dead at 12:58 a.m.
The 52-year-old Chicago man who killed 33 young men and boys and buried them in his crawl space had spent 14 years on death row. His victims' families wanted more pain.
I'm glad it's over. I just wish that there could have been more suffering, so to speak. The punishment doesn't fit the crime.
And I'm just glad that finally a little justice was done in this matter.
Gacy was the first Illinois prisoner executed against his will in more than 3 decades. Witnesses say his final words were that his death amounted to murder by the state and that it would not bring back anyone. Despite problems with one of the lethal injection tubes, witnesses say Gacy took a deep breath and died a peaceful death in 18 minutes. Dave Hockmeister arrested Gacy in 1978.
Do you see a finality here?
Yeah, I think that's it. To tell you the truth, I don't know. I was real angry with the whole situation, and I think this is just the conclusion.
He got a much easier death than any of his victims. In my opinion, he got an easier death than he deserved.
Kill that clown! Kill that clown! Kill that clown!
Death penalty demonstrators at the prison who favored the execution far outnumbered the candle-carrying death penalty opponents.
No, he did horrible things. The things he did were truly evil, but that does not give us the right to take his life.
Gacy's long-awaited execution here in Joliet is not expected to trigger a wave of other executions in Illinois. Only 4 condemned inmates have been on death row longer than Gacy, and their cases are tangled in a web of legal appeals. 150 others are waiting in line behind him.
A few months after Gacy's execution, a ceremony was organized. Relatives of the boys who were killed were invited to take a painting by Gacy and burn it. It was nothing more than a symbolic gesture, but for many, it seemed to fulfill a goal: to rid the world once and for all of the grisly horror that John Wayne Gacy had created.